All right, thanks again for staying with us on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television, TMI, with yours sincerely, Sonny Duke Okosun. Now, let's go to the discussion segment. Of course, it's still our countdown to Edo 2020 governorship election, but looking at it from another perspective, today we don't want no punches on air. You know what I mean? Politicians will always do that. So we brought people from the civil society and the church to talk to us about their perspectives on certain critical issues as it relates to the election. And one of them being that the COVID-19 pandemic is still rising and is a novel virus, as we were told, even though there are misgivings, misinformation, misconceptions about the whole drama playing out in the COVID-19. But what we know for now is that the numbers are increasing on a daily basis. And now we have an election in Edo State. Now, what impact can the electorate make in this election? And how will the political parties go about wooing this electorate? Because it looks like, in a sense, campaigns are limited as a result of observing the protocols for COVID-19 to reducing COVID-19 spread. These are the major talking points on the show today. I'd like to thank our panelist. Reverend Phil Aroje is the Edo State Chairman, Youth Wing of CAN, and of course the Youth Wing of PFN. Reverend Phil Aroje is also the Senior Pastor, Day Spring International Gospel Church. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, thanks for having me, and good morning, Nigerians.
I also have with us in the studio Barrister Abraham Oviawe, is the immediate president of Network of Civil Society Organization, the president really. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Barrister. It's been a while. Where have you been, really?
Very much. We've been there. We've been hibernating. We're told to quarantine ourselves and maintain some level of social distance and isolation. We've been doing that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's what we're also observing right here in the studio.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me begin with Reverend Phil. I've heard people say the Edo 2020 election, apart from what is happening on the political side, on the political front, within the political parties and between the political parties, let's look at the electorate, particularly against the background that there is a virus out there, there is a pandemic ravaging the world. How do we factor the electorates in terms of winning them, in terms of talking to them?
Thank you very much for having me once again. It's what we call now the new normal, the new reality. Unfortunately, we are going to test this in my state. The politicians will have to devise a means. The umpire, INEC, will have to re-strategize. NCDC and the PTF will have to adjust their programming and see the best way we can come out of this season. But I can assure you that unfortunately the politicians don't care. They don't care, provided they get the vote. They don't care because from the events of the last 4 months and what is happening very just now, you would think that you will know that the people who are at the helm of affairs at the various levels in this country don't even care what's happening, because when we had less than 100 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the country, almost everywhere was locked down. There was restriction of movement. By the end of June, by the end of May, we had about 10,000 cases. Of course, the lockdown was extended by 1 month, by 28 days, 4 weeks. Now, by the end of June, we had moved from 10,000 to 25,000. So you should have expected that government would take more drastic measures and all the rest. But what we now find is that the interstate lockdown is open. We are preparing for the election. We are threatening to open schools. And the things we said earlier, that look, you can't shut down churches, we need to pray. We need to commit this thing to God's hand. and you said God doesn't matter. That's what now the government has resolved to. Last Friday, there was prayer in the mosques. Yesterday at the National Christian Center, the chairman of the PTF, Boss Mustafa, the Secretary to the Government of Federation, was there in attendance and even spoke for like 20 minutes, giving figures and all the rest. That was what we told them before. When people like Pastor Chris, Yedikbo, and all the rest said, look, God can take care of this. And they said no. They said, no, God cannot take care. But they have now come back to church. So that's why I said politicians don't care. They are carrying on as if we are, everything is normal. So the election in Edo State and Ondo State and subsequently in Anambra, Ekiti and Osun, we go on. Coming to the issue of the campaign, I think the politicians, the political parties will have to devise a means of reaching out
to their people.
Yeah, to their people, people.
All right.
They have to avoid this deceit of thinking I have the highest crowd at the polling, at the
campaign rally.
So that means that I'm going to win the election. No, it isn't going to be so. And then again, I've also been wondering how they are going to do the campaign, because in our state right now, there's a policy of not using public schools for any gathering. And the governor did that when he came on board to secure those schools.
Absolutely.
And graciously they've been secured. Churches no longer go there for crusade. People didn't go there for any ceremony in the last 3.5 years. So I'm also wondering where the politicians are going to use for this large gathering of a campaign. Now that COVID-19 has brought restriction, I think they have to devise a means. Maybe mosquito campaign, reaching out to their people one-on-one, and then that'll be it.
All right. Let me get your perspectives, Pastor Ivan Obiawe. Your perspectives on how the COVID-19 has brought a whole lot of change in our election, particularly using Edo State as a case study. But in any case, we had elections held in some countries. I think in Seoul, in South Korea, and then there was another country even in Africa recently. What are your thoughts?
Unfortunately for us, while I align totally with what Reverend had said with respect to the politicians and what needs to be done, I feel very strongly that the protocols are just in theory. I tell you, deep in the hearts of these politicians, they don't care. And I think Nigeria is grateful to God, or Africa as it were. It seems to me that the effect of COVID-19 in other climes is not the same way. Maybe possibly because of our early exposure, because of our previous exposure to malaria. And as such, it has a way of, it has built some level of immunity in us, for which it doesn't have the effect of what, the devastating effect you see of what happened in Europe and America.
Yes.
And maybe for that singular reason, we have taken for granted true caution to the wind. Like you rightly said, when Nigeria was less than 100, the consciousness was huge. Government had to shut down everywhere. There were huge enforcement with respect to restrictions, face masks, social distancing. In fact, the campaigns for wash your hands, sanitize your hand was huge. But today we have gotten to over 20,000. People don't even care anymore. You go to the market, in fact, it's as though nothing is happening everywhere. Only recently you saw politicians, and you saw the numbers, where you see people acted against their own rules. What that presupposes that in the coming days, because the elections in Edo obviously will be tensed, and you are going to have huge competitions. And as such, everybody want to show this strength. And as such, they may again breach these very basic rules which will help us. And I think the politicians do not care about us. I expect Nigerians to, if they truly believe, because some persons still tell you at this time that COVID-19 does not exist, that it is an avenue to siphon money from the people or taxpayers' money, as it were. I think we must wake up our ideas, become conscious. We have our, the government over the years care late or not for the people. And as such, we must be able to put on our thinking cap and take the plan for which we cannot protect ourselves by following these very basic protocols for which we can help ourselves. Because when you go down, it means that which you intend to do can no longer be done as you expected.
Sure.
So when you have this thinking in your heart, that beyond what people are saying, why don't you safety first for your own self? And if you want to run into a campaign, you want to move around, if you are down, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel that beyond what we expect government to do, we are all part of government in our own rights. We must be able to wake up our ideas and tell ourselves the bitter truth and maintain that security which will help us to wrestle and disconnect ourselves from any of these issues by following strictly the protocols. I know clearly that naturally will affect the way and manner elections will ordinarily go in terms of maybe time for which the election ought to hold. Maybe it may not be extended, maybe because it will be taken slowly and slowly. I do hope the politicians do not bastardize the entire process. I am 70%, I mean across board.
Yeah.
None is exempted because there is a blood and spirit that flow through them when it comes to desperation to get power. They are not concerned about the effect on the people. They are concerned about holding power at all costs.
Okay.
So they must be conscious and see how they can save our people from this new normal.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, I read in the news a few minutes back, INEC's commencement of distribution of sensitive materials. Yeah, sensitive materials. Non-sensitive materials,
Wow.
I beg your pardon. Non-sensitive materials
non-sensitive
for the September 19th governorship election. I mean, that's to show that INEC is already preparing and planning for the election, as it were. But what caught my attention is that there are about over 2.2 million registered voters as at the 2019 voters registration
In Edo State.
in Edo State. Edo State is over 5 million,
Yeah.
for example. All right, so we were only able to capture 2.2 million, over 2.2 million people in as of 2019, and it wasn't the total number that participated in that election.
And not all of them even have their PVCs.
Okay.
INEC have over 400,000 PVCs.
Uncollected.
Yes,
Uncollected.
uncollected.
Yes, and they have even said now,
They are not going to distribute PVCs.
yeah, because of COVID-19. So
Yes.
what do you make of this as a challenge in even reducing the number of participants in this election?
From what I can see, I do not see more than 700,000 persons coming out to vote, because of the 1.something million PVCs that has been distributed, maybe 1.5 or thereabout that has been distributed. You can be sure that not all of them are also living in Edo State. And of course, some people have already raptured, yes, by debt. So I do not see, because we have never even had a situation at the peak of voting more than 700,000 votes. So I do not see that happening. So give and take, about 700,000 persons or less may be coming out to vote. And those votes will be shared between the two major contending political parties, the PDP and the APC. Happy though, there are also other political parties like ABGA that is trying to sort out their candidate list, and other political parties. But however, I think INEC, while preparing for this, the people, they need to think, because if we cannot open our schools, if we cannot open our churches the way we should, if government staff are not working, those from level 1 to 12 are not working, then election should not be a do or die thing. It shouldn't be. Because the way we are carrying on, as if that is the most important thing now. People need to be educated. As I talk to you now, today, Edo is number 4 on what I call the medal table. It's like we are competing. It's like it's the National Sports Festival that ought to have had in mind that has been postponed to in October, that we are competing. Why should we be number 4? Ogun, that is the closest state to Lagos, is far on number 8. Kano, that just picked up. Yesterday, they had about 30 cases according to NCDC.
Yeah.
Kano had 4. What had Kano State done?
That has
That
reduced
has
the
just
number.
reduced the number. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do so? The thing is like a wonder to me. I don't understand. So we need to, because if you have told us we can't go to school, those children that you have said they shouldn't go to school right now, they are in the market selling. I drove through New Market to come here this morning. It's as if tomorrow is Christmas. It's as if tomorrow is Christmas. On the other place, they are preparing for a Gugu festival. The way the market is, even this morning, by half past 7.
Okay.
So we need to rethink this. We need to find out what really is happening so that we'll know what to do. But however, INEC, the political parties, and of course the government should do all they can do to make sure that Nigerians are protected during this election. Because if we cannot take children back to school to go and ride their WAEC and NECO and NAPTEP, if we cannot let primary school reopen, if we have to take market from the marketplace to the schools, now eventually the market people have returned back, then for us to have this election in Edo and Ondo State, INEC and the federal government need to do, I reassure Nigerians that conducting this election is not going to increase or multiply the rate of infection of this pandemic in our states, and of course by extension across the nation.
All right. Mr. Viawe, we've always had this pattern in elections. You have a figure for registered number of voters. On the election day, you have a figure of the actual number of people that will come out and vote. Okay, let's even take it holistically, whether valid or invalid votes, at least they all came out to vote. When you make comparison between that figure of people who came out to vote to the number of registered voters, it's always a far cry. What do you make of this in a democratic experiment? Because you have people who will always criticize government or criticize whichever party is in power, and then they fail to realize that they are also part of the government. That's what you said a while ago. Could you build on
Yes,
that?
clearly, just to say that why you find that the apathy comparatively now looking at the number of persons who are eligible to vote and they are present within the state,
yes,
and the number of persons who chose to come or who are mobilized to come out to vote. The summary of this is that the people have lost confidence in the process. If a man feels, why going to disturb myself to vote when I am not too sure that the vote will reflect the true will of what we go there to do? If it doesn't, it's a waste of time. And if truly it does, how are we assured that the man who we are all come at a mass to vote for will meet the yearnings and aspiration of the people? It is these contending issues that have brought about this lackadaisical approach towards going to vote. I don't have time for that. I don't waste my time. They are all out there to eat more money. And on the other side, for those of us who have constantly been maybe the civil society end, year in, year out, we set template for new government to come when they are in power. We engage them, we criticize what they do as a way of getting better, and we realize that it's like a recurrent decimal. When they get in there, they shut their ears. When they are to get in, they listen to every advice that come, act like a good boy who wants something from the father. As soon as he gets it, he is now on his own. The summary of this is this. I think moving forward, we must leave the barricade beyond waiting for a government to come in like we are having and start setting templates. We need this one to do this, we need that one to do that one. And when they get into power, we start criticizing. I feel that we must now leave that barricade of this platform and participate fully and be part of the process fully. Let's be part of those they should criticize our actions and inactions. Beyond standing on that barricade consistently, we are here, we set templates, we ask them to go. When they get there, they are doing well, they are not doing well, we engage them, we criticize them. It doesn't change it. Yes, it's clear that our voices are hard, How are they able to translate it into driving the process in the way and manner as required? I think moving forward, we must all wake up our ideas and become more conscious about governance, because democracy is about the people. And if the people must be heard, we must all, it will be participatory in the democracy. We must all participate fully. Determine it. It doesn't matter at all what everybody feels. If I believe in candidate B, as we want to come out to say, I feel moving forward, if we give support to candidate B, he will be able to take us to that place which our state desires. Be free about it. When you do not have any grudge in your heart, and it's what you believe in, drive the process on. And I think that's the way to ordinarily go. But funny enough, part of the reason why people are tired, our politicians, our politics in Nigeria is bereft of ideology. In the Western world, a man, for example, in the US, a man is a Democrat from birth, from cradle to death. But here, we have suddenly discovered that all political parties are the same. It's just a mere vehicle. It's a mere vehicle to get into power. It is not driven by ideology. It's not driven by principles and guidance upon which every party determines to enthrone an egalitarian society, to bring about development, their style and pattern. There is no formula, nothing. It's just a vehicle to drive them. That's why it's convenient for a man who was in PDP today to find himself in APC. The one who is in APC today can find himself in PDP. They have a way of aligning. What that shows to you, that they are all together, but they just bear different names. It's like children of same parents, and they have different names. That is just the summary of it all. So anybody who wants to canvass to you should not canvass to you on the basis of political party, because they are all the same. You should canvass to you on the basis of the candidate and the quality of what that candidate has to offer. I think moving forward, that is what Nigerians must look at. Look at the candidates beyond their political party, because the political parties are all the same. All what the previous parties have been criticized for, other parties have also done it, even better on it. And as such, we feel that they are all one and the same, and we should no longer assess them. And I want to challenge the National Assembly and INEC to look through independent candidacy. I think it's one platform for which some individuals who claim their assent, they are worried about the fact that these parties have no strong ideology, they have a bad record, but that they are very popular. Without independent candidacy, you don't need to run through any party. And that independent candidacy is tied to the sanctity of the process. It's not just independent candidacy. If INEC cannot guarantee free, fair, and credible elections in concert with the security, we must be ready not to compromise. And say when the people vote as supervised by INEC, we are yet to say the vote must reflect the true will of what was done, no manipulations. When we have this intact, the independent candidacy will be a best bet for individuals who truly have the people in heart and the people believes in, and they may not have the war chest like political parties can galvanize, and they're able to enthrone governance. That is what we aspire to achieve, and that is not what we will be seeing by these next elections, because we are already in the fray of political party, and you start hearing a lot of stories again. You start hearing blackmails. You start hearing people reminding you of what you have said yesteryears, and it's a basis for which Nigerians will. I want us to look through philosophically ideology of the individuals, look at the capacity of the person to govern and mobilize government machineries for the general good of the people.
Pastor Phila Roger, are you concerned in a sense that in this election it looks like social media has become a major battleground? Maybe the limitations of the traditional media has also given rise to social media. What are your thoughts on some of the things that has been on there on social media?
Yeah, that's what you said is the obvious. It's a major battleground for this election, but unfortunately, that's not where the votes are casted, and that's not where the votes are counted. Those guys on social media are simply wasting their time. That's not what's going to change anything. We're looking at a situation where, like he mentioned, candidates move from party A to party B. You can't sell anything to me on the basis of political party. Even the church is having some challenges now, because you told us a certain political party ruined the country for 16 years. And just very now, you want me to be there with you. Some others told us a certain political party has done nothing in 5 years. And now you want me. How do you want to move my mind like that? I'm not with you on a daily basis. I'm not into partisan politics. The church is not there. And then we support a certain candidate based on what he has said, based on where he belongs to. And overnight he changes. And you just think that we will jump ship with you like that. It's challenging. So beyond political parties, beyond what is happening on the social media, beyond what people are saying there, the people will have to look at the individuals. Like he said, there is no political party, all of them are the same. There's no political party that has performed magic. If you are to look at them, and I'm not scared to say some certain things here, if you look at the ruling party at the national level, in 5 years, and I stand to be challenged, in 5 years, the APC at the national level has done almost nothing in Edo State. The only road that they are trying to do, they have not done 20 kilometers in 5 years. That is the dualization of the Benin-Auchi road. I go on through that road almost every week. So if you are to look at that, you compare that with the PDP, what the PDP did in Edo State, the period they were in power. You see that you have to, if you have to go with that, you will give the PDP a pass mark. But looking at the individuals who are contending for this party, who are contending for this position, you will see that we're not going to mark them based on political party. We're going to mark them based on relationship. People in government right now are going to ask, if the governor loses, what will be my interest? What will I gain? So they are going to work hard to ensure, irrespective of the political party he moves to, they are going to work hard that he moves in.
To retain their position.
Yes, to retain their position where their bread is better buttered. Not just where their bread is buttered, where it's better buttered. Those in opposition, I'll come again, those members in the House of Assembly right now want to make sure that the governor wins so that they will retain their position. The ones who have not been sworn in will do everything possible, irrespective of the political party, to make sure that the other party comes in so that they can come in there. The people who have not been able to access government or government fund and all the rest, who have no direct one-on-one with the governor, we want to make sure that he doesn't get that position, irrespective of his political party.
So does this make the stakes higher?
Of course, it makes it higher. Because it's not based now on what the party thing is. I mean, like one of the candidates had an agenda in 2016, he brought it to a political party. He's now in another political party. It's the same agenda. So it's about him. It's about what he wants to do. It's about the other man.
Not about the political party.
No, not about the political party at all. Not about the political party at all. So what some guys are doing in the social media is nothing.
Okay.
It's not going to change anything. We know how to reach the people. I can tell you without missing words, the church is the one going to determine this election. Why do I say so? That's why when I came here on a certain program some months back, I said I'm going to stand with the pastors. I'm not going to join anybody to fight churches. I'm not going to join anybody to close churches. I'm going to stand with the pastors because very soon you're going to come back to the church to ask us to talk to these pastors. And if we don't defend them now, we'll have no moral rights
to go back to them,
to talk to them and call them and talk to them. And I stood with the church. It was very challenging and very difficult for me, but that was the position I adopted. Okay. The church will determine it because whereas you may not be able to gather people in the public school for campaign, I can gather my 200. The government said now we can gather to 200 times 3 every Sunday. I can talk to 600 people every Sunday. I can gather them every now and then and talk to them. So the mosquito campaign, the individual campaign, certainly not. Elections are not won on social media. And let me quickly mention that INEC does not count prayers. INEC count votes. So Christians and every Edo person must be ready to vote.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Something came out, I think, within a week of a certain opinion poll that was conducted, a Gallup opinion poll or something like that. I wasn't quite sure. I can't remember exactly the name. But this has never really made any meaning in our politics. Is this something we can take seriously?
I don't get that clear.
Okay, there's an opinion poll that was conducted. The report said the poll conducted for the popularity and the chances of the major two political parties in the election, because even though we say that the election is not about political parties, it's about the individuals who are in those political parties. Of course, it's still about the political parties, because on the day of the election, you're not going to see those.
Of course,
it's the political parties that you're going to see in the ballot papers.
Very well.
So now, the poll came out, the result came out, and then some percentage was allocated to one person in Edo South, and then the balance of that to another person. They did the same for Edo Central and then to Edo North. Which sort of gives a sense of direction onto how the election result is going to pan out. Is that something we should take seriously against the background of antecedents of such things?
You should ask yourself very first is that, where was that opinion poll conducted? In the social media? In the internet? How about those of persons who are in the interior? Because again, those who voted are those who had access to 100 phones.
Yes.
And as such, how many votes comes from the interior? How many of these votes comes from there? Were they part of these opinion polls? So again, that poll is a product of the consciousness of the people within that particular class, who have clear access to internet, who can drive the process, those who have knowledge that there's an opinion poll coming on and are able to ordinarily vote. The point has been canvassed mightily, and the Reverend has put it beyond doubt that the elections will not be conducted at that level. And let me tell you, majority of those you see agitating on the social media, first, don't have voters card. Two, they are not even in Nigeria.
Yes.
They are not even in Nigeria. So whenever they reside in Edo states, even though they may be Edo indigenous,
yes,
and they have no idea of even coming around during the elections. What they can do is what they are ordinarily doing. It has a way of showing a sense of belonging and giving some level of direction and exposures. Because take it or leave it, the social media have done a lot to give you real-time information. Even those of us that use as a vehicle of misinforming the people,
fake news,
blackmail and fake news as it were. I feel very strongly that the election, like I said, politics is local, and the election will be determined by you and I, who will be at the polling booth at that set day and time. Beyond all this, people say on social media that this one said X, Y, Z. We already have a consciousness in this country that politicians don't tell the truth. So if a man says anything about X, Y, Z, yes, we may take it for the purpose of politics. What do you make out of it? What some person said against a particular candidate in 2016, that the demand is this, the man is that, the man is this, the man is that. And today they are not together. What the PDP said against a particular candidate, that he has not this, he's not this, he doesn't know his right from his left. Today, that same person that does not know his right from his left now know his direction to your party. So today, what do you make out of it? I have felt that we should leave frivolities and face the substance of the issues. Yeah. Like we have rightly said, political party is just a vehicle. And because of our style of politics in this climb, which is bereft of some level of ideology, we use this kind of sentiment blackmail as a basis. That's the tool politicians have. Because if you engage these drivers of these political parties, how many of them can cross-pollinate ideas with you on the table of brotherhood towards, for example, political economics or social consciousness of the people? Ask them the mechanism for which they intend to drive their campaign, systematically give you data as to how they can get there. None of them. They are concerned about 1,000 naira, put it into 1,000, go to a Yokodo community, meet that leader who believes in going to talk to them one after the other. It's a style of driving the process. So when a man cannot cross-pollinate ideas at that level, intellectualism cannot interface with you, he resorts to those primordial sentiments as a basis for cajoling the people who are also at the same pedestal with him to woo him. So you want me, who is educated and understand this techniques and politics, to not be swayed by some primordial sentiment as a basis for determining who I support. You know what new in 2016 I had mentioned? I was critical at a particular the governor of the state, then Adam Soshomole. I was critical on him on certain issues. And those who said I should be crucified, that I was being used by political parties to say what I was saying at that time, and not those who are not deputed. People give support by way of convenience, not ideology. In that respect, I feel what we should do moving forward is that leave this consciousness, go to your polling booths, go to your ward, go to your local government. All those things you are saying on social media are wasting your data. Concentrate on the people, because most of the people in the interior, they don't read what you are saying there. It's those of us who are here and abroad, who have access to internet 24 hours, who have access to light 24 hours, that we see all these things. So persons have not seen television, have not seen light for as long as 1 year. They rely on battery and radio to hear. They will not read those things we are saying. But go and meet them in the interior. Beyond noise making, go and continue to garner vote. Because when the chips are down, it is the locals that stands to defend the vote and determine the face of politics in Nigeria. And we must also beg INEC. Because no matter how much any candidate can vouch for votes, get the people by way of to come and vote, if INEC is not ready to stand with the records as supplied to it from the racks, it's a compromise of the process. We have seen a couple of it here and there, but I feel that there must be an improvement.
Okay.
And so the agencies must be able to also protect and ensure that we get the votes the way it is.
All right, Reverend Phil, if we say the social media campaign is meaningless against the background of
So we've not said so.
Okay.
We've not said that. We never said so.
Okay, we not have a tremendous impact on the outcome of the election
Because of fake news
because of
and blackmail.
Yes. So what because I heard over the weekend there was a restraining order that was not granted, that certain comments, statements used in the campaigns for 2016, TV stations should not be allowed to carry such statements, if they come as part of jingles. So if this is what we are saying, so what was now the basis for seeking such a restraining order? You are a lawyer, Barrister Oviawe.
For me, ordinarily,
yes.
I also read same on the social media, as if it is correct, because you don't forget we had already queried the genuineness of certain information that we get from the social media.
Yes.
If it is correct, I do not align myself with that application.
Okay.
The reason is very simple. Politicians are known not to tell the truth. It has become their trademark.
Let's say some of them. So generalistic.
Yes, so some of them are known. And again, rather than see it as a lie, they say no, it's politics. They see telling lies as politics. Yes, if you ask them the definition of politics, they include being economical with the truth. Is a basic virtue of politics and politicians, as it were. So suddenly, rather than bother yourself with going to get a restraining order, why don't you come out to tell us what you said in 2016 was a lie? I think it's the easiest way to do that.
All right.
Just try to tell us what I said was an act of politics. I actually didn't meant them. We're determined to drive our purposes. Come and tell us that.
You know, that's why we said politicians speak with or from both sides of the mouth.
Let's also say some of them, because there's also some of them who are very, very upright.
There's some politicians, or maybe most of them.
Okay.
Most politicians, most politicians speaks from both sides of their mouth, because they tell you this is this. This party has destroyed our state. This party has destroyed our country. And then the following week or the next election, they've gone to that party that they have said has destroyed our state and country. And you are telling us that that party now is the Messiah party. It doesn't, for us, it doesn't go well. You stand for something and stay on that thing, whether it's good or bad. The Bible says the man that will inherit it, and is the one that swears to its own heart and does not change. But politicians changes easily, so they are the one that makes us say that change is the only constant thing. So on both sides, several things have been said. The DG, the one appointed by the PDP to come and campaign for our governor, made some certain statements some time ago last year, but he's coming here to campaign. The former governor, who of course is alleged to have supported or supporting the APC candidate, also made a lot of statements. That's why I said, Edo people we look at the individuals. Forget about what people have said. Look at these persons. What are they doing? What have they done? And what are they going to do? At the appropriate time, we'll come out open.
Okay.
At the appropriate time,
Yeah.
we will not be speaking in coded language.
Yeah.
At the appropriate time, we speak plainly. But now, that's not why you called me.
Yes.
We know where we are going to.
Definitely.
We know the decisions we have already taken.
Definitely.
The church leaders will speak. It is not in my position to speak, but the church leaders will say, this is the direction, this is where we should go. And
All right.
once they say so, we move on.
All right, just before we cap it up, I've heard people say that part of the things that has happened in Edo State in the last couple of weeks or even months or maybe years is also panning towards the 2023 elections. I mean, if you look at the governorship campaign committees of the two major political parties, I mean, you're just wondering, I mean,
whether it's a national election.
If it's a national election. And then as tangential to that, there's a certain guy who was arrested for fraud, hush puppy in Dubai. Some are already listing names of people who have had dealings, had contact, had interactions with the dude, and reactions have started flying out. So how do you factor all of this in what's been said so far about 2023? Let me start with you, Barrister Obiawe.
Just to say that, like we have rightly canvassed and agreed upon, that politics is a dynamic game, very dynamic. People look for situations to situate their new cadre of canvassing for the support for their desired candidate, as it were. A man, and it's only in politics I see a man who is determined to bring you down, goes any length, including to your matrimonial home. They go and dig deep, knowing fully well the information they are bringing to the public domains are tissues of lies. In fact, they better on it, they amplify it, and they make people see it to be correct. But painfully, in few months or thereafter, they have need to come back. It's an easy way of saying we were just playing politics. To my mind, when you say Edo election is geared towards 2023, and I ask how, what is the voting population of Edo State in respect to contributions? When Joe Jonathan won Edo State, he lost the general election. When Buhari won the last election, he lost Edo State. so what? Yes. So now, when you look at the vote that came from Edo State,
yes,
at that time, if you remove it from the general pool, even though it is contributory, you agree with me that it didn't have the capacity to swing the votes on either side. But if you say we have major players currently in the national politics who have a role to play in the determination of who gets what and how by 2023, and they need to weaken their base as a basis for reducing, as a basis for drafting their voices at that time, to say you that you are not in control of your end, that can you now have a major voice on this general discourse for determining our direction and who we should pick. It is agreed. But to use as a basis to determine this is an election, I do not agree. Absolutely. I feel that it is also a mechanism, also a techniques or tactics to pull down certain individuals who perchance see as a clog on the wheel of their progress to getting to power by 2020, by September 18, just 19 as it were.
Yeah. Just
to say clearly that, having said this, we cannot rule it out clearly that it is not a factor. We are politicians of convenience. People thrive in lies and involved in all manner of scheming. We do not know what they are. But from our point of view, I feel that 3 years is still a large time, from 2020 to 2023. And if a man can be in party A today and in less than 24 hours can be talking of something different, what do you make out of it? If a man who had gone to a political party to seek candidacy, for example, that will tell you that how how easy it is to port. If you're in a political party in the morning, and by in the afternoon they say they cannot attend to you here, by in the evening you are in another political party, why are they undermining the possibility of that happening 10 times between 2020 and 2023.
Okay. So, Aaron Phil.
Other political parties can prepare for 2023, but the APC at the national level have no moral right to be talking about 2023.
But they have a constitutional right.
Yeah, they don't have, they may have the constitution. There's no, I know there's no link between morality and the law, but APC was given a mandate for 4 years. And then, howbeit it was alleged that it was renewed last year. The president of this nation has not been able to discharge the responsibility of that mandate. Things are worse off now for Nigerians now than where we were 5 years ago.
Precisely.
So a political party that have that moral burden of having Nigerians that cannot defend Nigerians, that will move the price of petroleum products overnight, will increase it with over 20-something naira in the midst of lockdown and pandemic, in the very day you were opening interstate travel. That was the same day you increased the price of petroleum products.
That was reflective of what the international market, what the price of crude oil was at the international market.
Yes. Have no rights whatsoever.
Okay,
let's think about 2023.
Let's just
think about 2023.
Let's
have political party can talk about it.
Yeah, let's
the APC should.
They have the constitutional.
Not even right now. They have just spent 1 year and 1 month of the money that was given to them. Anyway. Let them do what they have promised.
Okay.
Sorry, let me say this.
Yes.
This is a party that promised 3 million jobs every year. Now they cannot even execute 774,000 manual jobs. That is just for 3 months.
Isn't this assessment?
Just for 3 months.
Isn't this assessment too early? Because the lifespan
after 5 years,
lifespan of the administration has not elapsed.
So if it is too early, it's also too early.
It has not elapsed.
It's also too early to be talking about 2020.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Reverend Phil Aroje, the Edo State Youth Chairman of CAN and PFN. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate you, sir.
Barrister of Yahweh. So it is a delight to have you. Thank you for coming. Good to see you again. Anyway, it's the TMI Monday with yours sincerely. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be looking at music and the philosophy behind it. And many a times, they say musicians of old, when they write a song, there's always a message that they want to communicate. Well, that we can't say much about the musicians of today or the singers of today, because some of them really are not musicians, they're singers. And we'll look at the lifetime of a certain Chris ID. 22 years down the line, he passed, but his song still reverberates. I was in a burial ceremony over the weekend. I remember when one of his songs was being sung by a certain musician. I mean, a whole lot of people were moved to tears because of the lyrics, the words that were in the song. The song is ever so green. We'll take a short break. I'll be back with you on the concluding side of TMI Monday. Don't go away.